All right, guys, we're back here working on the 2004 Kawasaki Concours. Still kind of torn down. We're still doing some upgrades and some work to the bike. What we're going to do today is over here, we have on the slave cylinder, I don't know if you can see in there, but you can see where it's been leaking. You can see some seepage around on the top part of the slave cylinder here and under here, and when I check the fluid on it, the fluid is really low. So what we're going to do today is rebuild that slave cylinder. I have a rebuild kit here where there's not much to it. It's just a seal basically and a spring. So we're going to look into rebuilding this and see if we can get this thing working a little bit better. All right, guys, so you can see here that there's not much fluid in it, and the fluid that is in it looks terrible. So we're going to definitely change the fluid on this and clean it really good, but we're going to try to get most of the brake fluid out of the system before we pop the line off. But we're at least going to suck out the fluid here. We'll probably disconnect it down at the slave cylinder, and it's probably going to leak fluid out, but that's the best we can do. So just wanted to show you how low it was and how bad it looks. So we're going to go ahead and clean that out. All right, guys, I hope you can see okay. Let's see if I can position this light where I can hold it. I went ahead and took the 3 bolts out of here while my air compressor was turned on and pumping up. I took the brake line, or the clutch line off, and took the 3 bolts out. The bolts are 8 millimeters, and the bolt for the banjo bolt is 12 millimeters. And this is why you change your brake fluid and your clutch. Do your maintenance. So it's pretty crusty and nasty. So we're going to clean out in here really good and get that all cleaned out, and then we're going to clean the slave cylinder up and see if we can get the piston out. Hopefully we can. I'm going to put a little bit of compressed air to it, just try to pop the piston out so we can clean that really good and put the spring and the new spring and seal in, and hopefully get this back together and not have any more issues. So I'm going to get this cleaned up first. All right, so we have the area here all cleaned up. We cleaned up the slave cylinder as best we could. So now I'm going to put a little bit of air to it on where the brake line goes onto it. I'm just going to put a real tiny bit of compressed air. Be very careful if you do this. You don't want to give it a lot of air, just enough to push that piston out. So we're going to do that next. All right, so put a little air to it, pop the piston out. Just the piston. Everything looks pretty good on it. I'm going to probably clean it up with some steel wool, just kind of go over the edges a little bit where it was kind of been sitting in there for quite some time. You can see inside, looks pretty nasty too. And here's the spring that came out of it. So we're going to clean this up and get it ready to go back together. Like I said, I'm probably just going to real lightly hit it with some steel wool if this stuff doesn't come out. This stuff may come out with just a cloth and some brake clean. So we're going to get it cleaned out here and get it ready to go back together. All right, guys, so got the cylinder all cleaned out. I actually had to take some super fine sandpaper and run through here and knock all the edge off here. Now the one thing is the seal sits further down inside, but I knew as soon as I pressed this in with the new seal, it would either roll the seal or rip the seal. So I had to clean that up. So I did it with some super fine sandpaper, and then went over it with some steel wool. So now we're going to try to get this old seal off. There we go. And we've got this pretty much cleaned up. I'm just going to clean this groove out a little more and get the new seal ready to go on. All right, guys, I apologize. I thought the camera was running, but just carefully slide the seal on and make sure you get it going the right direction, because we want it to go down on here like this. Make sure you put your new spring in. I think the book is showing that the large end goes at the bottom. This might even just, I don't know if it'll fit in there or not, and stay, but we'll just put it in here and make sure we get it in straight, so hopefully the two line up. But I'm going to put some brake fluid around on this to get it a little slippery, and carefully push it in here, so hopefully it will go in without folding any of the seals. We want it to make sure everything goes in nice and straight and get a good fit. So hang on. Okay, hopefully I can do this where you can see what's going on, but I'm just going to get some brake fluid on my finger. Whoops, a little more than I wanted to, but it's all right. So I'm just going to rub this around the seal and the piston, get it nice and slippery. I'm going to even rub some in here. Just to get brake fluid all around in there. And so now we're going to very carefully, we're going to try to hold this up as flat as we can. So hopefully that spring will line up properly. And we just want to very carefully press this down and make sure, like I said, it's kind of slippery, so we have to kind of just wiggle it back and forth and stuff until we can get it to slide down in there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this on camera, because I'm going to have to try to wiggle it around a couple different ways and try to get it to go in there nice and straight. So let's see what we can do. There we go. Got it to pop down in there. Seems like it's moving nice and smooth. Much better than it was. So we're gonna put this all back together on the bike. Make sure you put this little plastic ring that comes is on the bike. Make sure it goes back on. And so I'm going to clean my hands up, and then I'll grab the camera and take you over to put this on. All right, so what I did here was I just put a little bit of grease right there on the end of that shaft that sticks out, the shift shaft there, or whatever they call it. I can't think tonight for some reason. So now we're going to line this little plastic piece up. It only goes on one way, and then we're going to line that up, and we're going to put this back on the bike. I'm going to have two hands, so I'm going to have to put the camera down, but we're going to get that on there, and then we'll get ready to put the line back on. All right, guys, I could not find anything in the book about these, what the torque is on these three bolts here. So I just did them, I didn't fight them way down. I just torqued, tightened them down a little bit, and hopefully that'll be enough. Now, next we're going to put this line on. All right, guys, sorry if you hear the hissing noise from my air compressor. It's got a small leak in it, but you got all the bolts on, got the line back on, and I started bleeding it. Of course, it had a ton of air in it. It's a really long line. It goes all the way up through there, all the way up. So I filled it up with fluid. I put my little cheap Medivac from Harbor Freight on it, because that's what I use for brake fluid, just in case it gets sucked back up into the Medivac itself. In case it sucks brake fluid in it, I'd rather it be this cheap one than my nice Medivac. All right, so what I did was I put some suction on it, And what it did real quick was it sucked all the fluid down out of the reservoir into the line. So I had to add some more fluid. And now I've got a little bit of clutch, which well, actually is pretty good. So I'm going to continue to bleed this and just keep a close eye on your brake fluid in the reservoir. Make sure that it has plenty of fluid in it and doesn't run out. And then just you could either break the line here and just let it out as you squeeze the handle. And then before you release this handle, make sure you lock the bleed nipple back down so it doesn't suck more air into it. I'm going to do it again through the Medivac and just let it suck as much air out as it can, and that's how I'm going to bleed the system out. All right, guys, so I've bled the system a few times, got clean fluid in it. Every once in a while I'll still get a bubble of air that comes up through here, so what I think I might do is just put something around this brake handle just to hold it closed, and maybe leave it that way for a day, and see if it'll push all the air out. It feels pretty good. It's hard, which I've heard that this clutch is, but I didn't seem to be getting much air out of it the last couple of times I did it. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up the reservoir, and we'll probably call that it for this one. We've got a lot more to do to this bike. I'll move over here, and we've got a lot more to do to this bike, so I hope you'll follow along. We're got brake lines to do the brake fluid. We've got tires to put on it, balance the carbs, quite a few other things that I want to do to this thing before putting it on the road. So hope you like this video. Please like, subscribe. Hope it helps you out.